Today we have to talk about friction and how it affects the operations of the line. And we also will solve all those little problems where we had to use magic in the last episode. Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you're absolutely new to the channel, you should really watch the nutshell video first. It's just 90 seconds and will really help you to fully understand the content of this and other episodes. There are several types of friction. In our case, static friction and kinetic or sliding friction are relevant. You can easily feel the difference yourself with a little experiment. If you put your hand on a surface like this and then apply a lateral force, i.e. pulling to the left, you will notice your hand won't move. That's because of static friction. But as you continue to increase the power, all of a sudden your hand will start moving. That's the point where your power is enough to overcome the static friction. And when the hand starts moving, there will only be sliding friction, which is usually much less than the static friction. More scientifically, it looks like shown in this diagram. As you can see, as your force rises, at some point the necessary force suddenly drops to the sliding friction, which will be constant. It is impossible to calculate the difference without knowing the exact properties of the surfaces involved. But the Egyptians could easily have figured that out by experimenting and experience. So what does that mean to the operations of our line method? Once the team at the near end has tied the sledge and stone to one of the small treadmills, we will take an appropriate number of workers, put them on the treadmill, and let them lean into their belts. But the stone won't move because of static friction. So we need a second team on the horizontal part, and their only task is to pull, and once the stone has started moving, they should immediately stop pulling and stay on their feet, of course. After that little starting aid, the force of the small treadmill will be enough to move the stone to its final destination. Now let's take a look at the last of the remaining places where we used magic in the last episode. When we pull a sledge from the quarry to the pyramid, more or less horizontally, we will need some 20 workers, 2 rows, so the whole unit is 10 meters for the workers and some more meters for the sledge and some gear. So when the first worker arrives at the foot of the pyramid, the stone will be still more than 10 meters away from the pyramid. So why don't we then deliver the stone from the side and get very close to the pyramid? One, we would have to turn the sledge by 90 degrees and align it with the rail, which is not a big problem. Second, that path would be significantly longer, and with 2.3 million stones to deliver, that adds up. But most of all, we want to operate multiple lines, and that path would easily interfere with adjacent lines. So let's take a simpler approach. We just extend our rail horizontally by some 20 meters, so the arriving stone could be put onto the rails as it arrives. But first we have to redesign our sledge a little bit. Let's get off those ridiculously long slides, make them shorter, and most of all, make sure that the rearmost rung is under the stone. as you will see in a minute. If we now attach the rope to the stone and start pulling, the power of the treadmill is more than enough to lift the front part of the stone. And if the stone is just raised a few millimeters, static friction will be reduced dramatically, because now, because of our little redesign, more than half of the weight of the stone will rest on the rear rung. So the stone will want to go forward and down to rest on the rail again. But if the treadmill continues to pull at the right pace, this will be a continuous forward move until we hit the pyramid. I don't know whether that impact will be soft or violent. We don't want a violent impact. So let's construct a very special rail like this and position it right like this. We will now have a smooth transition, and I'm pretty sure that we can get away without needing the help of the starting team. However, if I'm wrong, we still have the starting team in place, so we will get the stone up on the pyramid. So that's it for today. Please like, share and subscribe. Maybe you can help me with some of the questions I put in the shorts series. If you think we now have a system that is at least nice for all the normal building situations, nope. I still have to answer some of the questions I asked in the introduction video. So see you in the next one.